I'm going to take a brief pause from the wonderful world of essay writing to chat through research. Research is a central pillar, it is a key tenet of a good arts student's discipline. And it is a vital part of writing a good essay, yet so often overlooked. People think it people think it's like a very brief thing that just kind of happens at the start. You get the information that you need and you kind of just go on from there. That is not the case. Instead, research is something that should be actively being done throughout the entire process. You should be continuing to develop your research pool, your data, your information throughout the entire time you're writing your piece. So you can continue to be adding to your argument, offering counter arguments, and different theories and ideas throughout the whole piece. The first thing that I want to flag is that you need to be using academic sources. So you're not looking for things like Wikipedia, online dictionaries, blogs, personal websites, or the like. They may be accurate in some cases, and I know a lot of people are like, Wikipedia is accurate, like it's really good, yeah. And that is absolutely true, yes. There is a lot of accuracy to be found in those things, but they are not always credible, and credibility is what you're really looking for here. You want to look for things like books, chapters in edited volumes, peer reviewed articles, and the like. Often, arts courses have a really great place to start because they give you a nice long list of required readings at the start of the semester. So, those are a great place to start. And then in the bibliographies and reference lists of those required readings are great launch pads as well. So, you can be looking at the research that they're referencing and then use those to go and find more for yourself. Sources need to be reputable and credible, and that starts with the type of sources that they actually are. So this is something that's probably quite familiar to a lot of you. We're going to review them quickly now. So primary sources, first-hand accounts of those who directly experience them. So diaries, speeches, interviews, government reports, UN treaties and resolutions, not reports by non-government organizations, NGOs, statistical data, and newspapers. So they're often considered credible, but it is really important to note with primary sources that they often include bias. Be critical, always. What is this author's sort of what is their role in a particular issue? Why might they have bias? What might that bias be? How would that affect the piece of writing that they have done? Primary sources aren't strictly academic sources, but they can be really useful to uncovering the attitudes of people that were there at the sort of epicenter of an event. So definitely be on the lookout for primary sources and testimonies for people who are at the center of issues. Secondary sources contain, as the name suggests, second-hand information on issues, but they also critically analyze the significance. So this is where your journal articles come into play. And one of the easiest ways of determining if a secondary source is credible is by determining if it is peer reviewed, if another academic has gone through and looked at the credibility of it, essentially. Pretty much every university, I'm going to say every university, is going to provide databases from which you can find really good quality academic sources via their library services. So you want to be looking out for things like the Social Science Database, Wiley Online, JSTOR, Sage Journals, Taylor and Francis, and Project Muse. So those are all really good databases, and they've got literally hundreds of peer review, not hundreds, thousands of peer-reviewed secondary sources there for you guys to be using. And again, all of these sources are going to have reference lists, and bibliographies that you can look at and use to find more sources for yourself. So you kind of get into this big snowball where you start with a few and get more and more, and it's exponential as you go out. So there's some really good opportunities to be finding good evidence through that. All right. Be really careful if and when you want to be using newspapers as a source, as they aren't considered academic and they often promote a very specific niche viewpoint, rather than looking out for a sort of more balanced set of analysis pointers. So if you're looking for commentary and current affairs, newspapers are a good place to start, but don't consider them an academic source. And if you'd like to stray into the wonderful yet terrifying and dangerous world of the internet, you are, of course, very much allowed to do that. You guys are adults now. Um, I'm not going to stop you from using the internet, but you need to be aware that not every source on the internet is going to be credible. You need to check the origin point of the source. What website is it from? Who wrote it? Does it offer accurate, reliable, credible information? Or is it possible that it has a really intense bias, or it could just be straight up lying about what it is saying? So you need to be able to check the credibility. It is so important to do so. This is a major part of university life, is being able to understand which sources are accurate and which are not. So take the time, look and understand, is this a source that I can trust? As mentioned before, it's really, really important that you're using a wide range of perspectives from a diverse range of authors. So you want to be interacting with conflicting opinions so you can produce a really broad, well-rounded argument, which doesn't have any sort of holes in it that your marker can poke at and marks fall out of them. So make sure that you are offering a really nice broad range of perspectives in there. All right, I wanted to take this second little moment to chat about reading. This is probably going to be one of the biggest whiplash moments for students entering into the world of arts. So generally, for each subject, you're going to be given 2 to 3 readings that you need to complete each week. And those readings can be, in some cases, and I hope you don't interact with too many of them in your first semester, but in some cases, those readings can be like up to 50 pages long. It's very intimidating at the start, but you definitely get used to it over time and you get more familiar with how to interact with them. So, my piece of advice, particularly in your first semester, read your readings, please. Please, I beg of you. Read your readings. Not only is doing your readings going to elevate your understanding of a topic tenfold, but it's going to enhance your experience when you're interacting with the topic in debate and conversation within your tutorials. Tutorials are absolutely vital. They are a keystone element of understanding the subject and of doing well. So if you want to make the most of your tutorials, doing your readings, understanding the topic, understanding the key arguments of each of the readings and the author's perspective is going to entirely change the way you interact in those tutorials for the better. So sometimes the reading can be long and tedious, a lot of academic language, sort of topics and ideas and theories that you're unfamiliar with. So you can start off by getting a firm understanding of what the thesis is by reading the introduction and the conclusion first. So introduction, obviously, where they're introducing their argument at the start, and then the conclusion when they're wrapping up all of their points and they're talking through counter arguments and that sort of thing. So starting with those 2 elements can give you a really firm understanding. Then going through, looking for subheadings and chapter titles to give you a little bit of an indicator of where you need to be looking for the most important information. And then if you're reading digitally, you can use the Command or Control F function, which allows you to like search up keywords or phrases and they'll find it within the text. I know for me, I've got a Mac, so Command F is the one that I look for to get that little search bar up. So if you want to be thorough, you can take notes physically, dot points on like each of the key things that you find within the reading, or you can stick to really basic highlighting and annotating on the page itself. Either works, but it's really important that you remember the most important information for your discussion in tutes. So make sure that you're going through, you're pulling out that key information. And then when you're researching for a bigger assignment, it's best to read from the general to the specific. So begin by reading the relevant sections of introductory texts, have a look through your textbooks, all those sorts of things, and then, move on to more detailed publications and specialized journal articles later down the line as you're getting into the nitty-gritty. So start broadly, get the kind of core base understanding of a topic, and then move into specificity later on.